Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm so thrilled to have you join us today. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the idea of doing business and living life with a purpose, serving others, and yes, achieving success. We believe when we approach our work and our lives with a servant's heart, we truly can make a difference. We created this show for you because we want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated to make an impact in your world, whether you're making millions of dollars a year, you're an entrepreneur, community leader, or simply want to add purpose to your life. This podcast is here to support you. And we're going to talk fashion today. And this girl is going to rock your world. I need a lot of help with fashion. Just look at me. But her background is unbelievable, what we're going to talk about. While you're listening to my guest today, I want you to think about how you're going to serve today and what impact you'll create today. Because I accentuated today. I want you to do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow, because then the month goes by and you never do it. Start today after you listen to this show. And today's episode is proudly sponsored by our phenomenal partner, Pantheon Alliance. Imagine being part of an exclusive community of high-income, successful business owners and entrepreneurs from diverse industries, tough word for me. Together, they're building a powerful referral marketplace, unlocking educational opportunities. If you want any information on Pantheon Alliance or Pantheon Premium, reach out to me and I will get you connected. With that being said, impact is a big part of being a servant's heart. And the fashion, we wear clothes every day. So you're making an impact, good or bad, every day. So when a servant's heart comes in, like my guest today, they're going to make an impact in your world. It might be small, but I'm doing speaking gigs now. And I go out and wear clothing that doesn't fit me, my personality, which he's going to get into, it may affect my speech. It gets granular like that. So I'm super excited to have Kimberly on. Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I am delighted to be here.
Fashion, clothes, what to wear. I want to start off with your t-shirt we talked about in the green room. Yes. I am. What the heck's all that about?
Yeah, so this t-shirt is from our I Am Tees line. And as I was mentioning, Steve, when you or someone watching this actually sees me, they're able to read the language on the shirt. I am beautiful. I am divine. I am worthy. I am strong. I am loved. When I look in the mirror or even in the camera on my computer, I'm also able to read that same language. So this t-shirt was specifically designed so the wearer and the observer would be uplifted and edified by powerful language. And that is the whole focus and mission of Token Clothing Company, is to be able to edify women, edify the world, and edify everyone in their presence through clothing.
We'll get to your background, man, because audience, her background is so crazy cool. You're going to love it. But okay, this clothing, it talks about me. I'm worthy. I'm divine. I'm beautiful. Mm-hmm. Bottom line, everything is ROI. What's my ROI? Not just financially, but what's the ROI when you come in and take care of me?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So this clothing and the design behind it is based upon positive psychology and neuroscience research. Mm-hmm. So we know, again, based upon this research that we have, that powerful affirmations, self-affirmations actually can help decrease anxiety. They can increase self-confidence. They can increase self-competence. And when we have language, when we even see language, it impacts what's happening up here in our brain. In fact, here's a really interesting piece, Steve, about neuroscience. Under functional MRI, if I were to put all those probes up on your body and your brain, and I were to show you one word And within less than a second, that word increased your heart rate. It increased your blood pressure. There, we would see that physiological change in your body. You know what that word is? No. Now, no is sometimes needful. Sometimes we need that word, right? But we know from one single 2-letter word that we have those physiological changes. What we see with positive words, words that we might say bring peace, bring calm, we actually see that physiologically in our brain, again, under functional MRI, which means that that calmness and that peace happening in our brain allows those structures to function better. We're able to retain more information, our memory's better, our decisions are better. And so language, whether we're reading it, whether we're saying it in our minds to ourselves, whether it's in an environment, on radio, on podcasts, on TV, movies, whatever it is impacting us in physiological ways. And so why not take a medium, fashion, clothing? We have to get dressed every day. Why not take this platform of clothing and use it to actually increase our minds in a better way, to increase those things which would then lead to positive outcomes and transformation in our lives? It's possible.
I think I'm getting this. You're bringing
Yeah.
words and marrying it with clothes and bringing them
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Wow. Never heard that before. And I've met a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, man, that's amazing. I'm speechless. I rarely speeches, but that's great. I want to get into your background because a lot of questions coming off what you just said. You
Sure.
started as a speech language pathologist. Now you're working in fashion. How did
Yes.
you marry those, the previous career and this? How did you marry them together?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to be honest, when I was in graduate school, 16, 17 years ago, I knew I wanted a fashion company. And there are really poorly drawn designs, or were poorly drawn designs in the margins of my notes of dresses as I was sitting in class, right? I would sometimes doodle. And crazily, I knew I wanted a fashion company, but I knew I wanted to pursue the career of being a speech language pathologist too. And so over those several years, I took some art lessons to get a little bit better at drawing. I read about the masters of the fashion industry. I studied light and texture and design. And I tried to do things on the side that would keep leading me towards the opportunity for a fashion company. And there came a point back in 2021, I believe it was, where I was looking at this opportunity to go be a speech therapist down in the US Virgin Islands, which I would have loved because I scuba dive and I snorkel and I love the tropics. But I also felt that it was time to launch a company. And I knew that if I went to the Virgin Islands, it would be a great experience, but it would also change the trajectory of my life. And that company probably wouldn't happen. And so, if you recall in 2021, right, we're still in COVID, everything has shot up. We talk about inflation now, but honestly, back then, prices went crazily high, even with production. And I was looking at those numbers. And I still said to myself, you've got to take this leap of faith. And so once I made that decision, I started brainstorming and I pulled out all of the notes and all of the drawings. And I, did what I call my brainstorming method, where everything's in front of me and I have huge sticky notes on the wall and I'm writing and I'm thinking and I'm looking. And all of a sudden, I recognized that so many of my past notes and designs had words on them. I mean, part of it that is because I'm not a great artist. And so I'd have to write about things instead of drawing it all. But also there were all of these positive words. As I would doodle, I would write positive words. And I thought, you know what? Why not take language and fuse it with beautiful fashion? And so that's how it started. Our first line was a pajama line called Pajamas with Purpose. And I thought, what a better way to start than women's pajamas that are intimate and comfy and quiet. And usually you're wearing them in a time when your mind is more at rest and you're able to think. And so with that pajama line, the powerful affirmations that were actually chosen by some market research with women that I did, the top 3 affirmations for women that they wanted on pajamas was, I am beautiful, I am worthy, and I am loved. And so on the interior side of those pajamas are those words. The tops are reversible, but you have those words touching your skin all over every night when you go to bed or throughout the day if you're going to wear your pajamas. COVID changed that too. We wear pajamas more. So you have those words in front of you and touching you all day long. And that's when I realized that with everything that I do from here on out, there will be an element of language with the intentional purpose to change our mindset so our world is transformed and the world around us, right? Again, we want to pay it forward with this language and this notion of being able to edify others as we go throughout our day.
Yeah, I love it. I tell mentor business owners and podcast hosts all the time, edify. Don't be authentic, but edify. Have it at your top of your mind. By the way, it's a beautiful shirt. I'm going to edify you right now. I love it. I got to share it with my wife. The other thing is the power of the word. I've heard stories where people say you can have a terrorist attack, but it's the power of the word that could destroy the world, not a nuclear bomb. I mean, nuclear bomb could, but the power of the word. And you know what comes to mind is John 3:16. We see it everywhere. So whoever started that, you know, at ball games, you see John 3:16, you see hats and stuff. That one phrase, I remember that. I don't read that every day, but we remember that. Is that also the power of your clothing, is to remind us to remember these positive affirmations?
Yeah, absolutely. And from a personal standpoint, I'll say when we look at the words I am in the Old Testament, because I am a woman of faith, and in the Old Testament, the Savior, as he's speaking, Jehovah, as he's speaking to Moses, says, tell the children of Israel, I am that I am. This is a phrase of creation. It's a phrase of sacredness, right? When whatever follows these words, whatever follows I am, follows you. And so as we speak these words, we are creating our life. And so, yes, being able to have these incredibly powerful words, the word, right, as we go throughout our days and share that with others, creates a change within us and also outside of us within others. And thus we're able to lift society.
It's so awesome. And an interesting thought, and it's a funny thought. I imagine Jesus walking around with that t-shirt back in the day. I mean, that's kind of what you're
thought that, but I love it.
Yeah, because it's kind of what you're saying is not that I'm Jesus but if I go speak and I say, who are you serving? I got a t-shirt that says, who are you serving today? And I'm out speaking to 1,000 people. Well, that's going to resonate with them. Oh my God, serving. It's a positive thought instead of that no thought. How does somebody scale this for their business?
So you mean in way of, hey, how do we take this to the world?
Yeah.
That's a great question because I think about that every day. So I definitely, one of the things about language that I'm excited about is being able to partner with global retailers, because we can put I am and we can put this language into any foreign language outside of English that we need to. And we do have some Espanol for the t-shirts, but we can take whatever product and change that so we are able to elevate and edify women in their own language and their culture and their country. So that is one way, which I am super excited about. Another thing that we're working at in way of being able to partner with people is looking at non-for-profit organizations that have similar missions to empowering women, the mental health crisis, what's happening with mental health, because we know what language does in way of helping mental health, and we have the research behind it. And so being able to partner with them and say, hey, let's fundraise together where your supporters, they buy a tea through us, we fulfill it, and then a certain percentage of that gets to go to your fundraising efforts. And so not only is it a win-win for both organizations, but certainly the supporters are then receiving a beautiful t-shirt that is changing their life and lives around them.
That's such a great message for the world, because I think it starts with nonprofits. They're the catalyst to get messages out. Businesses are about bringing value to us, or clothes or food or whatever. So let's go back to business. So I've got an SEO company, got 100 employees. So I could use your clothing, like our positive mantra or tagline, let's say, is grow your business with a smile. Just use that. Very positive. So I pick one Friday a month and I get t-shirts for my whole staff to wear it on Friday. So everybody's got the message. It's sunk. Is that kind of a way to do this as well? Maybe I'm brainstorming with you on a podcast, but
Sure, absolutely. So, Steve, I didn't tell you this in the green room. I actually just about a month ago now, I published a white paper that talks about the unexpected role of fashion in solving our mental health crisis. And again, it brings in the research behind neuroscience and positive psychology, and how we in multiple industries, not just fashion, and not just mental health, right? But in multiple industries, how do we actually think outside of the box to increase, again, optimism, happiness, those evidence-based practices that we know support good mental health? I'm starting in fashion because this isn't being done. I don't know anyone else that is doing what I'm trying to do, but I would love to see this done by multiple fashion companies. And I would love to see how other industries think about what they do in way of lifting others through language, or maybe through, if it's a different type of company, through something visual, but their whole purpose is being able to lift others, not just their staff, but every single person that they serve. And with that specific focus of how do we improve everyone's mental health, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. How do we direct our focus on that?
I always forget that quote, so thank you. I was thinking about that quote. Exactly it. What's interesting with this is clothing can be any color, any style, anything, but the really focal point is the words on the shirt
The
or the
language.
jacket, the language.
Right.
Thank you. See, the
Yeah.
host can be corrected.
No.
Corrected. That's good. The
Yeah,
language.
sure.
So a nonprofit has Saving Whales. They could go out and, because I think swag, companies that
Sure.
don't have swag, because I'm wearing a hat that says, I had a t-shirt on that says San Francisco Giants. And I was on a call this morning. Guy goes, "Hey, I'm a big Giants fan." Well, I just marketed as San Francisco Giants. So Saving the Whales, marketing that foundation with good language ties right into what you do. Am I on the right path here?
Sure, sure. Yeah. And again, what my thought is what other people can do, like we're specific to, again, edifying and elevating women's mindset and working with women. We don't have a partnership with companies about protecting whales, but I would love to see companies that take, again, this idea, and again, I look at that science behind it, the philosophy behind it, the scripture behind it, the truth behind it, and say, all right, how do we do this in a way that truly elevates all of us and helps get our mission across, what we're specific to, that is helpful, not just for what we're trying to do, but truly blesses and helps other people, right? If you start to think, it's fun. If you start to think outside of how do you keep paying this forward? How can you really lift people? Even if no one or that listens to this says, "Hey, I want a t-shirt. I want to look at the pajamas. I want to, do whatever." If they're still edified by these words or this conversation that we're having, it's worth it. If they think about their life in a slightly different way, or how they can take a strategy and apply it to their business or something in their life, then this conversation has been completely wonderful, right? Because we're paying that forward.
Right. So fashion is color, style. You want to add it, and whatever. I'm not a fashion, of course, but it's not my expertise. But whatever those components are, when you look at fashion, you want to add this other thing of bring language to the color, to the style,
right? To
all fashion companies.
Yes.
Texture, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Talk about that. What will you see happen if clothing companies like Damon Green? He's got FUBU, and he had language to FUBU, his clothing line. If you're listening, Damon, love to have you on the show. She'd love to connect with you. But let's use that as an example. Everybody knows FUBU. Sure. He could add some, and maybe he's done all right, but add language to that, right?
Yeah. So, graphic tees are well known, and certainly we share ideas and we share preferences through graphic tees. That's pretty simple. But as I've looked even at other lines that we're going to bring forward over the years, athletic wear, we've already been designing that, a hoodie, different things like that. It's not all going to look like this specific design, but can you take language? Can you put it in a strategic part of a garment where even if there's not an observer, the wearer, when they're putting on that garment, when they look at it at a certain angle, whether it's in the mirror or just even at themselves, they are reminded of who they are. That's something specific that we're doing, right? The I am statements, but it might be of a reminder of how to treat other people. And here I'll point this out, Steve. this can be used for good or bad, right? Because the reality is there are people who want to be negative. There are people who want to take things and they want to be destructive with it. Whether they might call it edgy, or they might call it whatever they want to call it, whatever the term is, this can be used in a negative way. And I've thought about that since its inception. But I'm a believer that you chase darkness with light. And so everything certainly that Token Clothing Company will do, and what I would encourage anyone to do that's thinking about how they might take design and include language, words in that design, make it light, right? Choose light. We get to have that choice, light over darkness. And as we share that light, again, that darkness dissipates. It moves further and further back. But the designs, the ability to use that is limitless. However you want to put that into a shoe, into an accessory, into a pair of pants. That's what's kind of fun about it, just like fashion itself, right? We all have different preferences and things we want to wear. And so designers and companies can take this and they can do whatever they want as long as it elevates and edifies and does good.
You're brilliant. You're absolutely brilliant. This is so, you're my first fashion guest. But what I'm thinking of, I saw a picture on TikTok or one of the social media. The guy's wearing a shirt that I'm not going to say the word, F you. That's all it said on his shirt. And right away I cringed.
Yep.
And that's what you're saying. It's like,
that's right.
So be careful on what you're wearing to make sure it leads to your message, and it should be a positive message.
Absolutely. Because that type of language also impacts in significant ways, right? There is, in fact, this is interesting. On my way to yoga, like every day, there is the way that I go, and I've even thought about changing my path. There is a truck that maybe 60-70% of the time they probably work next to the shop, and they have a statement on the back of their truck that makes me cringe. I'm like, why are you sharing that with society? That's crass, right? It's not lifting anyone, but it's having impact because, again, I'm like, I don't want to see those words. I don't want to think about that. And so we really do have power in our words, right? Scripture even says like the power of the word is mightier than the power of the sword. Think about that. And so it is up to us to choose and to think in a way that increases light in this world through language.
I love that. We had some negative talk here, and that's okay because I love podcasts, like because the FU shirt and other things that people do. But we're getting to the end here. So I want to bring light to your life.
Thank you.
And to my audience life to learn more about you deeper. So I've got a question for you. It's off topic, but we're going to learn about Kimberly. Why she's so awesome. Thanks. So you're walking into a restaurant, you've got reserved a table of 4. You're obviously sitting in one table. The other 3, you know where I'm going. Dead or alive, who would you invite? Why? But the most important question is, what food would you order and drink?
Okay. Should I start with the food? Because I love food. No, I'm going to start
whatever you want. Whatever you want.
So Joan of Arc, definitely, right? Interesting enough, her death date is my birthday, the day, May 30th, right? She died back in 1431, I think it was. But I love her story, and we know about it because of the records that France and England kept because of her trials. I love Joan of Arc. So Joan of Arc would definitely be one. Another one would be Abraham Lincoln. I love Abraham Lincoln. Again, who he was, what we know about him, what he did for this nation, how he fought for freedom, the opposition that was against him. I think we need people like him more than ever right now. So Abraham Lincoln would be another one. And then the final person would be my grandfather, who still is living. He's 98 and his cognition is not fantastic. He's a World War II vet. He is my hero. And so maybe I would have my 70-year-old grandpa come, right? When just his memory was super sharp, and just because I adore him and I know that he would have everyone laughing and loving him by the end of our conversation. So he would be another one that I would bring to that meal. And I probably would have like some delicious salmon or halibut with yummy potatoes and a delicious salad. And I'm a big water fan, so it would just be ice water. But that's what I would be eating.
God, I'm glad I ate lunch because I'd get very hungry. And I love that Joan Arc. I knew you weren't born in 1431, so I'm glad you clarified that
Yeah.
her death. I'm like, boy, she looks fantastic.
Right.
Interesting about your what's your grandfather's name?
His name is Frank Wilkerson.
So I want to do a shout out to Frank.
Yeah.
Frank, you made a difference with people. People, if they know, I'm sure they know, but I just want to do that shout out because to me, and Abe Lincoln and Jesus are leading the pack right now. I've done 80 of these questions, but also the third part of his family. Like the lady before me, she invited all her family. She said, okay, it's good because you're a family person and that's important to you. And he's made an impact. And I thank you for being transparent and open with that question.
Yeah.
It's a fun question. And
sure,
it just leads to fun stuff. Now, the most important part, how can people support you and reach you to support you?
You bet. So of course we're online. We have our online store at tokenclothingco.com. And from there you can follow us on socials. You can access the white paper from a link on our homepage. One of the best ways that you can support us, of course, buy the pajamas, buy the tees for people you love. But another thing that we're doing is an initiative called Pay It Forward with Pajamas. And that is also on our website. And we have partnered with Refuge for Women, which is our nation's largest long-term rehabilitation center for women who have been sex trafficked. And so as a customer, you can gift a pair of pajamas to a woman of your choice. They actually have written their hopes and their dreams. We know that they've been through horrible circumstances. And so they don't talk about those. We already know that. But instead, they list their hopes and their dreams despite those tremendous circumstances. And so not only can you gift them a pair of pajamas, but also you'll have an opportunity to write them a personal note of encouragement. And then Token Clothing Company fulfills that and sends it to that recipient. So that is also an amazing way that you can support not just Token, but you're supporting these women at Refuge for Women.
Pajamas won't fit me. So can I go out to the web, and I will, can I go to the website, order it without making a purchase? Okay, so for you men out there, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm publicly, I will, once this show's over and I leave this wonderful person, I'm going to go do it because I think we all do that. If 1,000 people did that, the impact we would make would be tremendous. And this is what a servant's heart all about. Kimberly, God bless you. You turned a business into a world-changing event. And I thank you so much for it. We all have to make money. Business means there's value and there's income and all that, but you also have this purpose and this servant's heart. And I've known you a little bit. I know you much better. I'm blessed to be your friend. And so thank you for having me as a guest.
Thank you. It's been great to be here.
Awesome. Don't forget my TV show, Together We Serve. It's every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And we want to thank you, me and Kimberly, for watching or listening to this podcast. We appreciate it, and support her by commenting on the YouTube channel, which will go out in a couple of days, or the podcast down the road. And I'll get that information to her, as well as this information will be on the show notes. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. You all have a great day.